UV?
Okay, so we are on Facebook right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we are live
You're,
right now.
uh,
Okay. So, good evening to one and all present here, to all our viewers. Myself, Saurabh Kaushal from Smart Circuits Innovation Private Limited. I'm your moderator and host, along with Mr. Mitul Dikshit, G Chairman, Dikshant Group of Schools. So, it's an honor and pleasure. Today, we have a very great personality with us, and so thank you very much, sir, to be with us for today's session. So today we have Air Vice Marshal Mr. Lakshmi Narayan Sharma ji, AVSM, and he's having a very interesting profile, and he's doing interesting work during his tenure in the Indian Air Force. And so let me firstly introduce you all about his profile. So, Air Vice Marshal Alan Sharma VSM was born in a farmer family from a small village, Chhaju, near of Palwal district in Haryana. He completed his schooling from a government school in the adjoining village. He did his graduation from SD College, Palwal, and post-graduation from Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra in Haryana in 1984. He joined Indian Air Force in 1985, and after 1 year of training at the Air Force Academy, Hyderabad, he was commissioned in the rank of pilot officer. During his 35 long career, years of a long career in Air Force, he tenanted various operational, instructional, and staff appointments. Notably, he commanded on an operation unit with a vast mandate. He was chief instructor at his alma mater, that is Air Force Academy, the cadre of leadership where officers of all the branches are trained. He was selected to hand prestigious Sainik School Kunchpura, where he had the distinction of bagging Raksha Mantri Trophy after a gap of 15 years. That's really a great achievement. On his promotion to the rank of Air Commander, he was posted as Principal Director Education at Air Headquarters. On 1st September 2017, he was promoted to the rank of Air Vice Marshal and appointed as Assistant Chief of Air Staff Education. This is the highest rank and appointment in education branch with pan-India responsibility. For his outstanding contribution, he was commanded by Chief of the Air Staff in 1998, and for his services of exceptional order, he has been awarded at Ati Visis Seva Medal AVSM by the Honorable President of India on 26 January 2020. And so in this year, I mean, sir have received the AVSM medal. So congratulations, sir, for that medal also. So he's having
thank you
a
so much.
really, great profile. So it's our pleasure to be with us today. And on the other hand, we have our moderator and our mentor, Mr. Mitul Dikshit sir. He's the chairman of Dikshant Group of Schools in Panchkula, Chandigarh. And he's a very innovative, creative person I have ever seen. I meet with a lot of principals, a lot of chairpersons in India, but Mitul sir is a very innovative person, I must say. And sir, I'll tell you, the students in Mitul sir's school, they are working on really out of the box technologies. They are working on aero modeling. I mean, a 6th or 7th class students, they are working on radio controlled planes in Mitul sir's school, and they have launched their own satellite in space last year. So this type of a work students in Mitul sir's schools are doing in a Dikshant school in Chandigarh. So welcome to both of you, Alan Sharma sir and Mitul sir, to our show. So let us start this session. So before starting, I would like to request to our viewers to please like, share, and subscribe our page, and please share this particular video so that your colleagues, your friends, as well as your family member will also learn.
Saurabh, your audio is gone. Saurabh, yeah, you
Yeah,
need to.
sure. So let us start with Alan Sharma sir. Yeah.
Before, thank you for that introduction. And I'm sorry, sir. Before you start talking about your journey, I have a question to interrupt you. Is there
Certainly.
any other medal which is left for you to be decorated with?
Mitul, thank you so much. Let me tell you, with all humility, it's been a great journey, and getting medal or getting commendation, it's a part of the journey. So I would not say it is the end of the journey, but it's a part of the journey. and the organization has been very kind. They were very candid that they recognized my work, and that's how I got it. So there is nothing much that I would like to talk about this, but certainly it is. Certainly, it's a matter of great honor. It's a great privilege to be honored, to be awarded Presidential Artificial Service Medal by the Honorable President of India. And well, apparently it's a recognition for the job well done. That's the only humble thing I can talk.
And all the medals that you've got and all the uh, 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 honors you've got makes us feel very good about being on and getting this opportunity. Both me and Saurabh are privileged to have you talk with us, and it's a privilege to moderate this session.
Thank
Having
you.
known about all your medals and galas.
Thank you so much, Mithul. And the next about 15 minutes or so, you will give me a chance to talk about my journey.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
One is to start with. Saurav has already introduced me. There's not much left, but then I'd like to say I was born in a very uh, small village, which now forms a part of Palwal district. My father was a farmer, very modest background, and I was one of the 9 brothers and sisters, 9 siblings in a huge family. You can make a team out of 9, and I was number 3. Well, while the parents tried the level best, but there were challenges. That process of growing up. The school that I studied and up to class 5th was in my own village. The school had only one room and one corridor in front for the 5 classes. So whenever there was a rain, shower, or any other inclement weather, we either had to get inside one room, the entire school, or we had to go home. We had to sit on the jute mat and under the either the sun or under the shadow of the trees, and but the entire process of learning was excellent. When I got promoted to the senior school, that was in an adjoining village, about 5 kilometers. Every day I had to walk 5 kilometers one way, and when it was when it rained, we had to remove our uniform, put the uniform and the shoes in the school bag so that we were neat and clean when we reached the school. And the best thing to happen when we got upgraded to the senior school was that we had a room for ourselves, we had a classroom for ourselves, and we had a proper jute mat, and wherein we could sit comfortably, where we could study, and we could enjoy our student life. I had the good fortune of having excellent teachers, the good parentage, but let me tell you, having been born at that point of time with practically no modern facilities as we see them today. There was no electricity, and computers and all these facilities, in any case, they were not there at that point of time. Every day, walking 5 kilometers one way left you little time to study. At night, we had to put on the lantern or the earthen lamp, and we had to do our schooling. Fortunately, no, I mean, I like to credit the good genes, good parentage, good grooming by the teachers. I was able to score good grade in class 10th, and after I completed my class 10th, you call it peer pressure or lack of guidance, I opted for the medical stream in the college. And then, but then sooner I realized that I was not cut out to become a doctor. That is the time I thought I am probably more suited to be a man in uniform. So when I was in college, there was an army camp. There was an army training camp next to our village. And whenever I went to the college for next 15 days, every day, I would spend hours witnessing those training exercises that those army people used to go through. And every time I passed that area, I used to get goosebumps. I literally used to get goosebumps. So that was one seed, I would say, that was shown in my psyche that I need to don the uniform one day. Then after I went to the university, first 3 months I happened to spend in Ambala, SD College, Ambala, Kent. Right in front of the college, there's an army parade ground, an army training ground. So every day I would see them, and every day we used to get excited that one day I might get a chance to don uniform. And fortunately, Air Force Ambala Kent has got a huge Air Force station with the thunder of those flying jets over our heads. Every day I used to look up the sky and I used to pray to the Almighty that one day I might also get a chance to be a part of the Air Force. So after about 3 months, like migrated to the main campus at Kurukshetra University. I completed my master's with reasonably good grades. And that is the time I thought, now, okay, now I having completed my academic part, now I need to go for the competitive part. I appeared for the Combined Defense Service exam. I appeared for the commissioning course for the Air Force. And then, fortunately, I qualified both. And the call up letter for the Air Force came first. And that was way back in 1985. 1985, I went to Air Force Selection Board, Dehradun, got recommended there, came to Air Force Central Medical Establishment at Delhi for the medicals, got cleared, and one fine day in the month of May, and I got a call-up letter, final call-up letter, that I've been selected and I have to join Air Force Academy on 28th June 1985. During this entire process, I'd like to share with all the viewers, especially the younger lot, finances were a problem, but fortunately, I could be eligible for certain national scholarships, which I appeared. I appeared for the exams. I got selected, and I was in receipt of national scholarship for a few years. Then my grandfather was a great support. He told me, look, although you have taken on a very tough path, we may financially may not be that well off, but then whatever be your requirement, we'll take care. You just focus on your academics. That's what I did. And by God's grace, 85 I joined and I completed my training with reasonably good grades. And next 35 years, the only thing, when I joined Air Force Academy and when I landed there, as I entered the gates of the Air Force Academy, I realized that this is the place I'm going to be for next 3.5 decades till the time I retire. And that was a passion which carried me, and that passion, excellence in whatever I did, and wherever I went, I had about 18 postings during those 35 years, all in different domains. I never repeated a posting, and I had the good fortune of training young minds like our friend Mithul Dikshit does with his chain of schools. And fortunately, during those grooming of young minds, I could convert a large number of young boys from the rural hinterland and get them into NDA, get them into Army, Air Force, Navy, and today they are doing extremely well. So it's a great source of pleasure for me. And 31st March, I hung my uniform, and all along it has been an excellent journey. Everybody has acknowledged the good work, and icing on the cake was the Presidential Award on 26 January 2020. When I saw my name, I didn't believe my eyes. I didn't know that it could be true, but it is true. And I'm here in front of you, talking to you. And so now I'm open to you for if you got any questions, anything you would like to ask me.
Yeah, so sir, I mean, you really have an really inspiring, a story from a very small village till the IAF and how you have joined, and you have mentioned about the Ambala Kent and all. So usually whenever we go to Ambala Kent, it is near to our hometown. So
Yes.
हम लोग भी वहाँ पर बहुत बार देखते हैं कि फाइटर्स एंड जेट्स जा रहे होते हैं ऊपर से. सो आई मीन हमारे अंदर भी सर एक जैसे बोलते हैं कि रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं हमारे जब हम जेट्स को देखते जाते हुए. So definitely it's really a great feeling. And I mean, each and everyone, whether they are the army person or the air force or the navy person, I mean, every soldier, they are doing a really great job. So we must, I mean, salute to each and every soldier जो border पर हैं, जो इतनी अच्छी services दे रहे हैं in borders के ऊपर. So because of you people, we are safe and हम बहुत आराम से की नींद सोते हैं. And also definitely first of all salute to you all people, I mean, from our side. So you are
Thank
doing
you
a
so
really
much,
great
Saurabh.
job. So, sir, I have a question. So, could you please let us know more about the life at, Air Force? कि आपकी life कैसी होती है? I mean, what changes you have observed in yourself after joining the Air Force and before, joining the Indian Air Force? Because हमने सुना है कि Air Force के अंदर, or I mean, in defense, there's a lot of discipline, life, and all. So, could you please let us know more about that thing, about your life after joining the IAF?
Uh, that 1 year of training at Air Force Academy transforms you from a civilian person to a military leader. So the entire process, it is not only academics, it's not only physical, it's a complete transformation. The complete transformation of the personality, the complete transformation of the thought process, the complete transformation of the way you talk, the way you walk, and the way you look at things. A military man is a very, very optimistic person. He is highly disciplined. He's got excellent organizing and leadership skills. He can take the team along, and he's got a huge sense of responsibility. He is very lively. He is very lively. He can lead the team, and he can be also be a part of the team. So these are the qualities which are ingrained when you undergo training, and as you grow up the ladder, these are the qualities which are encouraged. And let me tell you, Saurabh, every year, unlike no, a lot of services there in the civil sector, each officer is assessed for a certain set no, standards, and you have to live up to those standards, and those standards are defined. Whether your professional professionalism, your ability to withstand stress, your leadership qualities, your cost consciousness, your dynamism, your social adaptability, your attitude towards your subordinates. All these qualities are measured on a scale of 9, and you become eligible for promotion to higher ranks if you continue doing well on a regular basis. It is not that one day affair, that one day you do exceedingly well and next day you'll be promoted to the next rank. It's not so. It's a continuous process.
Okay. Sir, you've had a long journey with working with the Sanic schools also.
Yes.
During this whole journey, I mean, each of the schools, whether it's been public schools, private schools, government schools, they've gone through this transition of time. How I mean, with public schools also, they've had this transition of time in terms of, we see the changes around, and the schools had to make those changes for good. How do you see the Sanic schools over your journey, making through this transition in terms of the requirements of the new generation, as well as, uh, can you share something about the transitions, how these schools have transitioned?
Okay, Mithul, wonderful question. I'd like to tell you this. Besides having like couple of tenures in Sanic school, I have also administered 132 FO school in my last assignment, which I just completed on 31st March. We got 132 FO schools, and I was the executive vice chairman of the complete setup. When I joined Sainik School, Sujanpur Tira at Himachal, It's in district Hamirpur. It was one of the, say, youngest Sainik school, because it was set up last in the series. It was set up in 1978. And the motto of Sainik school is very, very clear and very, very clear, defined and focused. It is to prepare boys physically, mentally, academically, psychologically to join National Defense Academy. Secondly, to remove regional imbalance in the officer cadre of armed forces. Thirdly, to provide quality education to the wards of a common person at an affordable rate or affordable price. So that way, Sainik schools have been doing extremely well. They've been acting as the, as the feeder institutions for the armed forces. A large number of senior officers, including the chiefs, in all three services, they have been from Sainik school. Like General V.K. Kapoor was General Deepak Kapoor. He was from Sainik School Kunchpura. General Sohag was from Sainik School Chittorgarh. H.E. Marshal Raha was from Sainik School Purulia, West Bengal. So there have been large success stories. And when these schools came up in 1960s, they were those elite schools, because there were not far too many residential schools, which we have today. And parents had very little option. But with the expansion of schools, especially public school, the one that you're running, parents have more option now, and it's only the people who don't have access to good schooling in the vicinity, they send their children to Sainik schools. By and large, about the 98 of the boys, they come from the rural background, but they have a lot of josh and they have a lot of dynamism. And even today, at any point of time, say more than 25 to 30% of the boys who are in National Defense Academy, they are from these Sainik schools. And if you look at the overall figure, say more than 50% of the officer cadre of the armed forces that comes from these Sainik schools, military schools, Rashtriya Indian Military College. So that is the kind of journey. But then the premier schools like that you come from, Scindia School, I'm aware, and the school that you're running, Dikshant chain of schools, even they have been preparing a large number of students. They're coming from these schools and they are opting to join armed forces. So armed forces have become much more democratic now. They have become much more cosmopolitan in nature, wherein we have a boy coming from a rural background, we have a boy coming from elite schools. They all join up and they all come at par. That is the beauty of the defense service.
Yeah, in fact, to share with you, one of the military schools from Dholpur has also produced the chief minister for UP, Akhilesh Yadav, who was the former chief minister of UP, was from Dholpur.
I'll also like to share with you Mr. Bhupinder Hooda, who was the chief minister of Haryana, and he was the chief minister of Haryana when I was the principal of that school from 2011 to 2015. So I had the privilege of having the patronage from the state government, and that is what probably helped me quite a lot in regaining the old glory. And after a gap of about 15 years, we won Raksha Mantri Trophy consecutively, almost consecutively in 2014 and 2016. So the support of the alumni, the support of the society, the support of the state government and the environment helps quite a lot in bringing up any institution.
But that's quite credible, because in terms of it's not only that people go to the students only join the defense, but we have some exceptions. In fact, Bhupinder Singh Hooda as well as Akhilesh Yadav have been exceptional leaders in the areas. So I mean, that's one thing which is very creditable in terms of it's not only the defense, but world-class leaders who are coming out of these schools?
Mithul, I'd like to share with you, like the boys who are not able to make it to defense services by design or by default, they have been excelling in other fields. I'd like to share with you a very, very small example. When I was at Sainik School Sujanpur Tira, out of a batch of 66 boys, 64 boys they qualified UPSC written exam for National Defense Academy. 64. And the two boys who did not clear, they were the ones who were the brightest.
Mhm.
They were the brightest. So it was came to me as a kind of shock. So when I spoke to them, I counseled them. They were somehow kind of, they were not very focused. They were not very keen to join armed forces. But next attempt, they appeared and they are doing extremely well, in armed forces today. And one of them, the boy who did not make it, rather who didn't do well, today he's one of the very leading fighter pilots in Air Force. So just about 2 years back, he came to my office and he said, "Sir," he told me, he came to me, "Sir, do you recognize me?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Sir, I'm flying Mirage 2000 and I've been nominated to go for the staff college course to USA." So that is the kind of the excellent profile of the boys who have been in Sainik schools.
That's very
I
excellent. Yeah.
I know just a few months back there was a board of governors meeting for all Sainik schools, wherein the education ministers and the education secretaries and the chief ministers of the various state governments and all stakeholders from the Ministry of Defense, all three services, we were there. And there was a minister of education from northeast, the school Manipur. So this gentleman, he is the minister and he has been a student of Sainik School, Imphal. The kind of clarity, the kind of passion, the kind of finesse that he had, it was a pleasure to listen to him and to interact with him. So when these boys go through a certain regimen of 7 years, a disciplined kind of life, whatever they do, that's immaterial. But they've been doing extremely well, and they do extremely well in all walks of life.
I mean,
Over
excellent.
to you.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, so, sir, would you like to share any instance which you encounter in the line of duty, which can inspire students when you worked in IAF? So, could you please, share any of your experience with the students?
Uh, every posting that I had during my span of 3.5 decades, that was a challenge, and I took it as a challenge. My first initial postings were in the training institutes, wherein I was required to train youngly recruited boys, and we were required to transform them into the worthy air warriors. When I was there, I realized there were certain things which were not in place and which needed to be addressed and which needed to be done. Like in one particular instance, I'll tell you, when I was posted in a training establishment at Bangalore, they did not have exposure to the field-like conditions during their training period, which every soldier, every airman, every sailor has to go through. So I designed a very take customized kind of program for them so that they had exposure to that typical military kind of environment, and wherein they can have a first hand feel. And so whenever they're required to guard a post, whenever they're required to perform as a soldier or as a tradesman, they should be able to do it. And today when I look back, I feel very happy that I was able to contribute. Secondly, when I was chief instructor at Air Force Academy, I realized that while we were training these young candidates, coming from civil and the young cadets coming from NDA in certain, in all the professional aspects. But there was one element of soft skills which was missing, which every officer must be exposed to. I designed a special module of about 30 hours, which which we introduced for all the officers. And when they passed out, they were absolutely different kind of people. Third incident I'd like to share with you that in one of the operational assignments, uh, I was required to strengthen. I was heading a unit which had the distinction, which had got the distinct role of strengthening the security cover of all Air Force bases in 6 states of the country. So I designed a methodology, I worked out a plan, and with the support of all the stakeholders, the state government, the civil agencies, we were able to identify those anti-national forces or elements, and we were able to neutralize them. We were able to safeguard our assets and our establishments. So that was a huge point of satisfaction. And lastly, since I'm a man from education, from the training and development side, we had when I lifted Raksha Mantri Trophy after a gap of 14 years or 15 years, that was a moment of pride because Raksha Mantri Trophy is given to a Sainik school which sends the largest number of boys to National Defense Academy. And lastly, during my tenure as Principal Director Education and Assistant Chief of Air Staff Education at Air Headquarters, I felt there was disconnect between the role of education branch and the operational requirement of the Air Force. So I realigned the redefined the role of the education branch and aligned it with the operational role of the Air Force. So today, education branch is a very, very premier branch of the Air Force. It is involved in the selection, ab initio training, in-service training, testing, and human resource development for the entire Air Force in a very, very big way. And they've been doing extremely well. So these are the things which, certain things which I thought I'll share with you.
Sir, I see a lot of questions coming from the mothers or the parents and young girls. They're very excited with this idea of girls getting an opportunity to join the Sainik schools. Could you share about the possibilities of their joining the Sainik schools?
Mithul, I'd like to share with you that I was a part of this pilot project, during the phase of deliberation and during the process of setting up Sainik school for the girls. The proposal came from many states, because now armed forces, the girls are there in armed forces in a big way. Air Force has got, almost about 1,200, 1,300 officers, women officers. So fairly big number. Army has got a decent number. Navy has got a decent number. They are there in all branches. So it was proposed by certain state governments that why not have a Sainik school for the girls so that they get motivated right from the beginning and they get a chance to be trained along with the boys and they can join the armed forces subsequently. A lot of deliberation happened and about 2 years back, Mizoram has started a section on an experimental basis for the girls. And each year about 15, 20 girls are admitted. They train along with the boys. And last year, 5 schools had started, inducting girls in Sainik schools. And they train along with the boys because they're finally, whether you are in Air Force Academy or military academy or naval academy, the girls train along with the boys. They fly along with the male counterparts. So they have to work, in close combination. So it's better that they train together. So right now, the options available to the girls are after graduation. But I am very sure with the way things are going, the day is not very far when someday we might have to open the gates of NDA to the girls. So that's a very, very heartening news as far as the girls are concerned.
Saurabh?
Definitely. So sir, what are your views on the recent topic that defense is thinking to introduce 3 years defense program for civilians, like Israel already have? So, how it will benefit the country and its significance? So, could you please let us know more about the 3 year programs which the Defense Ministry or the Government of India is planning for the civilians?
Saurabh, you know, there have been a lot of deliberation on this aspect as to how to fill up the shortfall in the officer cadre of the armed forces, and also how to make youth become a part of the mainstream, become a part of the armed forces, so they have a first-hand feel of how it feels to be a part of armed forces, how to don the uniform. We already have short service commission where you have to serve for a period of minimum 10 years, and you could go up to 14 years. But then, in spite of the large numbers that who apply, we don't get adequate number of people to fill in the slots, because we don't dilute our standards, we don't dilute our quality. So the government of India has proposed that in order to make up the shortfall, and in order to you know keep the youth on the right track by giving them kind of training, giving them orientation to a disciplined life, wherein they work in the armed forces in army for 3 years. They probably will, one is there'll be twofold benefit. One is they'll be able to, like, gain first-hand experience of being in armed forces. Secondly, they can opt for a career in the corporate sector after 3 years. So it's a win-win situation. There are different views. There are different views on the subject, but I am in for this because more number of people who get exposed to armed forces, they'll make better citizens. That's my viewpoint.
So, sir, let us take a few questions from our viewers. So, our first question is from Sneh. He's asking, how far are we in the development of our own made in India fighter jets?
No, we already have made in India fighter jets, Tejas LCA. You must have seen it flying on various occasions.
Yes.
So it is indigenous fighter aircraft. It has got a in fact, it has been showcased everywhere, and it has got very superior technology. Wonderful platform with advanced avionics and weapon platform, and with a lot of maneuverability. If you can, if you go to YouTube, you watch it performing, performed uh, Air Force Day parade during Air India show. So we already have Tejas with us, and in fact, all this aging MiG-21 fleet, they're going to be replaced partly by Tejas. So that is the answer to your question.
Okay. So, sir, we have another question from Sangeeta Kumari. She is asking, what problems you faced, and could you please tell something about SSB? And it's really a great question. Even when I graduated, I also got a call for SSB, and I know it's a very difficult thing to crack the SSB and all. So, could you please advise something about the SSB and all to youngsters?
Okay. One is, there are different entries. I'm sure which the younger people would be aware. There are entries after +2. You can join National Defense Academy. You can join the technical branches in Navy and Army after +2. You can join medical armed forces medical college. Then thereafter, after graduation, there are large number of entries: combined defense forces examination. Then we have the Air Force Common Admission Test. Then we have Indian Naval Entrance Test. Then there are technical entries. There are for the Army, post your BTEC. There are entries in the legal education, and the many kinds of entries, NCCC certificate entry. But besides the written exam, the mother of the entire testing procedure is the SSB interview. It's a residential interview for a period of 5 days,
Yeah.
and it's a test of your personality. It's a test of your personality,
Uh,
wherein your psychological capability, your leadership qualities, your communication skills, your planning and organizing skills, your adaptability, your liveliness, everything is assessed in a holistic manner. There are three techniques which are used. Those three techniques: one is the psychological technique, second is the group testing technique, and third is the interview. It is based on three fundamental things, those what we call as mansa vacha karmana. Psychological technique is, what is actually, what is your thought process, how do you think. They carry out a complete analysis of your psychological, mental makeup. There are different series of tests. There's something called thematic perception test, there is word association test, there is a situation reaction test, and there is a self description. So when you write all those exams, wherein I mean, you are exposed to certain situations, certain stimuli, you are supposed to react in a certain way, and that comes in the form of a story, or a sentence, or answer to certain situations, or your assessment about yourself. So the psychologists make a complete mental psychological picture about your personality. Second is group testing. Group testing includes like your lecturates to test your communication skills, group planning exercises. It is those progressive group tasks, individual group tasks, uh, individual obstacles. So there are many such group testing techniques, wherein your group dynamics or group behavior comes into play. How you, respond, how you act as a part of the group or as a leader of the group. The third is when you are face to face with the interviewing officer, wherein he assesses you, in his own by a probing method. He dives deep into your psyche, into your personality, and he assesses what kind of person you are, whether those 15 officer-like qualities that they are looking for, there are 15 officer-like qualities that they're looking for, whether you have those qualities in ample measure or not. So that is the mother of all the testing procedure. And in order to succeed in SSB, what I would say, you need to be a good human being. You need to be a good citizen. You need to be a responsible person. You need to have, you need to take initiative. You need to have dynamism, both physical and mental. So if you have the basic good human qualities, you will make it through and you can crack SSB.
Yes, sir. So, sir, we have another question from Sadhna Prasad. She's asking, sir, what is the maximum G force faced by the fighter pilots?
Well, that's not a question, which is directly linked to what we are talking today. But
Definitely.
The fighter pilots have to undergo this G-force. But then one is like their physical fitness. Second is they have to wear a G suit when the fighter pilot flies a fighter aircraft. He has to fly. He has to put on a G suit which ensures that the blood does not flow out and he doesn't become blank. So therefore, there are ways, depending on the speed, depending on the maneuver that the pilot is undertaking, he can go in for, like different levels of G, whether it's 1G, 2G, 3G. But then there are different methodologies to ensure that he does not get a blackout or gray out. That is what.
Sir, you started with, I mean, a very the introduction while the your introduction started with a very humble beginning, which you've had. Having 9 siblings together, starting from a school in your village.
Yes.
What is it that probably you feel uh, with your parents and the generation which uh, uh, the role of your parents? What advice can you give to the parents today to ensure, because no way that they have 9 siblings, nine children, because I'm also from a family, where we have 4 siblings, and the way we were brought up. Uh, what is your advice to the parents about the upbringing?
Mithul, I must say there's been a lot of change. There has been a paradigm shift in the way parenting is used to be done during those days and what it is done now. When you are a big family of say 6 or 8 or 9, you have like you live together, you grow up together, you fight together, you learn a lot of like social skills by yourself, and you learn to adapt to the environment. You learn to understand the requirement of the other sibling. But today, with the nuclear kind of families and with just 1 or 2 kids around, the parents role has become very, very important. They need to communicate to the children in a different way, and it doesn't have to be one way communication. It has to be both ways communication. The parents must be appreciative, and they must be receptive to the ideas of the younger generation, which is very, very important. If that happens, the child develops confidence, the child develops that kind of positivity which the parent wants to convey to the child. But like if you do it one way, it'll be very, very difficult for a child. Rather, the child becomes a kind of rebel. The child may not appreciate or understand what the parent is trying to do. So the entire there's been a total shift and total change in the way parenting used to be done then and parenting is done now. Today, the parent has to be more of a friend. He has to be more of a mentor because he doesn't have siblings around, too many siblings around. So that is what has been the difference. My parents, of course, while they had been very supportive, but quite often I used to get a lot of snub, and at times used to get some beating as well. But that was a part of our growing up, and we took it very, very supportingly. So it's not no, there was no, you didn't carry it in your mind. One is being bitten, second is also being bitten. So what? It's all. So teachers and parents, they have that license. Today I and you don't have that kind of license, and nor it is required.
But thankfully, I didn't get a beating from my parents. Siblings, I mean, amongst the elder brothers and sisters, used to manage by themselves. The beating which was required was given by them, not the parents.
Actually, when the when the siblings are not able to sort it out, that is where the parent has to be an mediator.
Mhm.
So at times, in order to pacify the younger one, mainly the younger one, the elder one gets a beating. So that has been I've been the victim of that kind of situation many times, but we enjoyed it, and we took it very supportingly.
No, I was lucky to be the youngest one, so
Okay, so that's why you didn't have to face that kind of situation. Okay.
Yeah. So, sir, we have one question from Asha Mittal. She is asking, sir, I would like to ask which exam is better to join Air Force, AFCAT or CDS for girls?
Look, FCAT is exclusively for Air Force. And through FCAT, you can join all branches. You can become a pilot, you can become an engineer, you can join administrative branch, logistics branch, education branch, accounts branch, meteorology branch. So all branches are available and open for the girls through FCAT. CDSE, no, as far as Air Force is concerned, it's only for the flying branch, and that is a permanent commission, and that is for the boys. Through CDSE, they can join army, as short service commission officers through OTA. So, no, as far as CDS is concerned, it's only for the flying branch, and so therefore the girls can opt for FCAT instead of CDSE as far as Air Force is concerned.
So, sir, here the Manni Pankaji say that proud to say that I was associated with IAF as an AFWWA member. Welcome, Alan Sharma, sir. The uniform, the early party, AFWWA meetings, the campus life, the thought still fascinates me. Feeling great to hear from you. So he is saying this message to you. So could you please let us know more about the parties or the campus life because it is really the thing which we common men want to know about your life and all.
Saurav, the armed forces have got a very rich, social and cultural life because, we all come from different parts of the country. We speak different languages. We follow different traditions. But when you join Air Force, we, we have a community life. So we have a lot of forced, gatherings, which we call it official parties, and we have a lot of, kind of personal parties. So that enriches the social fabric, and that creates a kind of social bonding. A person from north celebrates Onam, and a person from south celebrates all the festivals, Lodi, which is celebrated in Punjab. So therefore, we have a very, very rich and very diverse kind of culture and fantastic social and cultural life. And it's a pleasure to be a part of. In fact, after one retires, one misses that kind of social bonhomie and social kind of cohesion, which we get through the medium of parties.
In fact, Manini is a teacher at our school, an exceptional teacher, and I think she gets it from her background with the Air Force. And this added question of Saurabh about the party came from Saurabh himself because he was keen on understanding the parties which happen in the Air Force and the defense.
No, so who's the teacher, Mithul, in your school?
Manini Pankaj, she is a teacher.
Okay.
Might have been
wonderful. Very, very nice to hear that. I'll tell you, the parties that we have, a person who's not in the services looks at them, with a different perspective. As far as we are concerned, that's an occasion to be together, to strengthen our bonds of friendship, camaraderie, and professionalism. Because people, they are away from their families, the traditional rishtadari and all those brotherhood. So everybody, comes on the same platform. We share our thought process. We sing together, we dance together, we eat together. So that brings in a lot of camaraderie at the workplace. So it is not for socializing alone. It is for a larger purpose. It is to bring in that kind of cohesion. So that is what most of the people think that
more to do with community building also. That brings the community. I saw her message and she was so happy to see you on this session. It's more to do with community building. and which is
Mithul, let me tell you, no, it's like this. Once you have been a part of that organization, you are there for life.
correct.
And the way we live, the way we work, we are friends for life. And everybody is so respectful of each other's requirements, so much, so appreciative of each other's requirement, that if I have got a friend sitting in Bangalore, I just give a call. I can no, I can just sit at ease and I can be rest assured that the job will be done. And same thing, if somebody, one of my friend, sitting in maybe Srinagar, he calls up and he would say, I need so and so thing from Delhi. I mean, I'll make sure I'll go out of my way to do that. So that is the kind of strong bonding that we have with each other. So that is our strength.
Correct.
That- yeah. So we have another question from Swagata Mukherjee. She is asking, sir, is India is going to make other fighter planes other than HAL Tejas?
Uh, First of all, Tejas is not the first of its kind. We have, no, we have had, no, other fighter planes uh, designed and manufactured in India. Tejas is the beginning, and the Tejas itself has got different variants. Tejas Mark A, Mark One, Mark Two. So it's only beginning, and now since the government is giving a lot of boost towards indigenization, so there is a greater focus by the government, by the greater acceptance by the armed forces, and greater involvement of the domestic manufacturing sector towards the defense production. So, in the days to come, in the years to come, we can see a lot of indigenous, defense equipment, and like including the fighter aeroplanes.
So, sir, another question is that from the Vinita Pandey. She is asking, sir, what are the activities done in those schools where you worked as a principal? Could you please let us know more about the activities students are doing in the Sainik schools and all?
Sainik schools are the feeder institutions for the military academies. Okay,
Yeah.
and the kind of the routine, the schedule, and the activities is almost the same which is there at the National Defense Academy or any other military academy. It's a combination of military training and the academic training, because the child has to appear for the board exam for class 10th. The child has to appear for the class 12th exam. He has to pass the written part of UPSC exam. So therefore, the military training and academic training, they go hand in hand. So there is a very nice fine balance. Everyone has to get up at 5 o'clock, PT at 5:30, followed by the physical training, and then thereafter the parade, and then the classes, and then evening games, and various co-curricular activities which help a holistic development of the individual personality. So that is how it is designed that way on.
So, sir, Harry D. Nagpal is asking, sir, what study we need to do after 12th for CPL license?
For CPL, first of all, +2 is the qualification. In +2, you need to have physics and mathematics. You need to write an entrance exam, and needs to qualify that and join one of the flying clubs or flying institutes or academies, either in India or abroad. So for that, you don't have to do your graduation. +2 is the basic requirement for no for joining a CPL course, commercial pilot license course. For that, there are different stages. There are different stages. First, you become, like private pilot license. Then thereafter, you get CPL and that kind of thing. Then thereafter, type rating, and then so there are different stages that one has to go through when if you want to become a civil pilot.
And sir, Ashrupal is she is asking कि sir जो different activities and curriculums होता है जो army schools और air force school में, is it different from the private schools which we have right now? या करिकुलम्स और एक्टिविटीज आर्मी स्कूल या एयरफोर्स में भी वैसी होती हैं जैसी दूसरी पब्लिक और प्राइवेट स्कूल्स में यूजली होती हैं सर उसमें?
सौरभ, we must understand, एक फर्क है. Army school, Air Force schools or Navy schools, they're like any other public school. But क्योंकि management और administration respective service का है, so there is a slight focus, direct or indirect. While there is a adequate focus on academics, there is adequate focus on sports. So there is a focus on preparing the children for various competitive exams for engineering, medical, CLAT or CA or whatever. But at the same time, there is an inbuilt priority and focus on orienting children towards armed forces. Otherwise, army school, air force school or navy school, they're like any other you know public schools in the country, and which are administered more efficiently and more effectively.
Let me add to that one of the premier public schools of the country, Mayo College Ajmer, has had the principal or the director at the top level. They've been past generals from the army. It has made a lot of difference to Mayo College Ajmer.
Mithul, let me share with you. These. I'm aware. If I'm not mistaken, Lieutenant General Kulkarni, he was there. I think he's still there, and I'm told he's the alumni. He's one of the alumni of Mayo College Ajmer. Most of the elite school, that you also come from, Mayo College Ajmer, or whether it's Lawrence Sanower, Lovedale, or whether it's Doon School, Vellums, Scindias, they have a very strong alumni base, and these alumni, they're very, they're deeply attached to their schools. So for an alumni to go back to the alma mater, it is taken as as a huge privilege. I've been in the selection board for the selection of the principals, vice principals and registrars for the Sainik schools. So every time we had an alumni from Sainik school, so he would always say, "Sir, I'll be happy, that the person is from, he's from the combat arm, or he's from the flying branch of the Air Force or the executive branch of the Navy. But he wants to go as Adam officer, administrative officer, or as registrar in his school because he's got a strong feeling and loyalty that I want to do something for my alma mater." So that passion, when it becomes, then when you have that kind of bonding, it is it becomes very, very productive. That is how Mayo College Ajmer has been doing well under the stewardship of Jan Kulkarni. And let me also share with you, when I went for my interview at the Ministry of Defense, I was the chief instructor at Air Force Academy, Hyderabad, and they asked me, "Would you like to give any option for a particular school?" So I said, if I'm given Sainik School Kunchpura, I'll be able to do a better job, because that would be a kind of a payoff. I'll be able to. I'm aware that a large number of the youth from Haryana, they want to join armed forces. So that way, I'll be able to create that kind of culture wherein larger and larger number of people get oriented towards armed forces. And since then, fortunately, the school has been doing extremely well. It has been traditionally doing very well all along. But then, I have got the satisfaction that when I got the Raksha Mantri Trophy after 15 years. So since then, the tradition and the trend has been continuing, and every year the school has been doing very well. So it becomes a sense of pride. So that is where, if you go to your Scindia school and they call you as a as an advisor or as a consultant or as a part of board of directors, I'm sure you'll do much more which will do for your own schools.
No, I completely agree with you, sir, because it entirely. I mean, I'm sure with the Sainik schools or the Air Force schools also. I mean, there are different heads, and individually, if you look at different heads, it also depends upon a school doing better under one head who knows the entire. I mean, there would be uniformity in the curriculum and everything, but it does depend upon an individual head who understands the school better. And let me also share with you, when you talked about an alumni, since I've been associate, I'm in the executive committee of my school, Scindia, and in the
Okay.
would be taking over as the president in a few years' time.
Great.
Let me tell you, this session, I mean, you'll be surprised that someone actually advised us to bringing, I mean, we were looking at changes at SOBA, which is called the Scindia Old Boys Association, which is a very strong
Yes.
network of passionate Sindhian pass out.
All residential school, they got a very strong alumni base.
Somebody suggested that we're trying to bring about changes, and somebody suggested that you must go and visit the Sainik school, or is it the Rashtriya Military Academy, and meet the head of Rashtriya
The
Military
commandant. Yeah, the
Dehradun.
commandant. Yes.
Dehradun.
Yes,
Because
yes.
the way they have set up the standards. I mean the operatives of the alumni. I mean, that's something very very creditable, and we were asked to go and get in touch with them and see their operationals to run a successful alumni.
Okay, Method, I'd like to share with you this Rashtriya Indian Military College, is the most premier, FIDE institution. And the success rate has been almost about, 75 to 80%. Every 6 months, they admit just about 25 boys, one per major state. So one is, the entry level itself, the yardstick is, very, very high. It has to be the best brain. And then they have the old boy, that alumni of RAMC, as the commandant. That is one thing, which is very sacrosanct. Second thing is the teachers that they select, they are selected through UPSC, and they they are class 1 gazetted officers. Secondly, the alumni, they contribute, each alumni of RIMC contributes a certain sum towards the corpus, towards the, the welfare activities or developmental activities, and a part of, the incentives or, certain, schemes that they have there, including, hiring of teachers, which are not available at times. It is funded by the alumni. I would like to tell you, we have a Marshal B. Suresh. He is the Air Officer Commanding in Chief, Western Air Command. He is he's from RIMC. The previous Air Chief, H.E. Marshal Dhanoa, he is from RIMC. So, and I had the privilege of working under both of them. So they share a very strong, fascination and very strong bond with RIMC. And I was told that the Old Boys Association, they contribute, towards betterment of training as well as administrative infrastructure of RIMC in a very, very big way. So that alumni base is very, very important.
I mean, we've been advised to go and study. Go and study the way the alumni association operates. I mean, it's something, it's not that Scindia is almost 123-year-old school, and I always believed that we had a very close knit old boys association. But in spite of that, I was unaware about such a strong alumni network of the RIMC Dehradun, and of course it constitutes the other Sainik schools and the Air Force schools also.
Let me tell you, Mithul, Sainik School Kunjpura has got a very strong alumni base. They call themselves the Kunjians. And shortly, in fact, this year itself, they're going to celebrate the Golden Diamond Jubilee.
Okay.
And the previous chief minister, the previous army chief, and all senior people in the hierarchy, they all are part of the patrons, and they make sure that the all the requirements of the school, they're taken care. If there are any issues pending with the state government or the central government, they are taken care. And if there's a requirement of some funding required to be given out of the old boys like association, it is done. So that's a very strong foundation, or strong pillar as far as the institution is concerned.
I mean, because I think it's essential for the old students to have that sense of belonging towards their institution, where I
Mithul,
think
I think we're getting slightly off. I'm sure the other kids, because INU, we belong to different kind of setup, because you are heading a group of institutions. You have been alumni of a prominent school, and I've headed such schools. So now maybe other people, I am sure they're not feeling neglected.
no, we need to go back to it. Saurabh,
Yes, sir. So, sir, I have a few more questions before we can conclude. So, here's the one question: how you will guide a student of sixth class to prepare for defense, as we see many parents are asking students to clear Sarvodaya exams.
To clear
Sarvodaya exams.
Sarvodaya or Navodaya?
So I think Sarvodaya they have written, but might be
No, no.
Sarvodaya or Navodaya. Navodaya might be. Yeah, it's a Navodaya exams.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Saurabh. There's a Government of India scheme under MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development, that specially catering for the children from the rural area, rural belt, and there is almost about 80% reservation for the children from the rural area. So they have established Navodaya Vidyalayas on the pattern of the residential institutions, which are like Sainik schools, military school, IRMC, those kind of things. They're funded by MHRD, but then they their motto is not to prepare children for armed forces. They prepare children as as they carry out a holistic development. If somebody wants to go in for armed forces, he can he can go for armed forces. They make a child prepare for the engineering, all in a JEE. They make a child appear for the NEET. They make a child appear for the CLAT. And fortunately, the Navodaya Vidyalaya, they've been doing very well. They've been doing a good job and serving the cause of the rural population. So the brighter of the children in the from the neighboring in that particular district, they can appear. They must appear. It's a good experience.
So, sir, Sukhwinder P. Singh, she's asking, my son in school at present, after joining Air Force, can go into the space engineering also, join ISRO after joining Air Force. Is there any possibility of joining Indian Space Research Organization? Because we are seeing nowadays,
Uh,
I mean, ISRO is also selecting the candidates for the astronaut program from Indian
okay.
Air Force.
No, it's
Yeah.
like this. No, that's a different yeah, aspect. In fact, all the people who would go as astronauts, they're the pilots. You don't have to be an engineer for this, but some of the engineering colleges across the country, they offer uh, aeronautical engineering or aerospace engineering as like the disciplines of study. Not too many. So after, if somebody wants to pursue BTech in aeronautical engineering or aerospace engineering, he can either join Air Force, or he can join ISRO, he can join DRDO, so he can join like many other prominent organizations. But the students, the children who do the engineering even from other streams, after they join Air Force, we convert them, we train them, we impart them special training to become aeronautical engineers. Depending on the subject they have studied, they either go into the electronics field or they go into the mechanical field. So we have aeronautical engineering mechanical and aeronautical engineering electronics.
So, sir, one more question is there from Sadhna Prashad. She is asking, sir, can you please describe the role of Garud Commando in the IAF?
Okay, very interesting question. I'm sure she knows about all three services. They have the special forces. Like army traditionally has been having, their commandos, para commandos. Air Force, has set up, special forces, and they're called Garuds. And the role of Garuds is to protect the Air Force installations. They undergo a training, very rigorous kind of training. They undergo training with the army, with the paramilitary forces, with they go to energy center, and we have got our own training, program. And during peacetime as well as during hostilities, the Garuds, they are deployed for various counterinsurgency operations. And you must have seen it, during this when this Pakistan, this Air Force Station Pathankot was attacked. It was the Garud commandos who took on, and some, like they also operate along with the army, formations. We had one of our commandos martyred, along with CI operations in JNK. So they are the special forces and the airmen from different trades, and the officers from certain branches. They're selected. They are made to undergo those the commando course or the Garud course, and then thereafter they continue to be a part of this till the time they remain physically fit, until the time their services are optimally utilized.
So here one more question is there. Sir, can I join the Indian Air Force after getting CPL, commercial pilot license?
Yes, there is a provision. If somebody has done CPL, one can have a direct, like one goes through the direct SSB. One doesn't have to appear for the written exam, and if one is selected, then one gets into Air Force. But let me share with you the medical parameters. Medical parameters required for Air Force. They're of a higher level. Like if somebody puts on glasses, he can become a civil pilot, but he cannot become an Air Force pilot. At the time of entry, if somebody puts on glasses, your vision has to be 6x6. That is one. Second thing is, like in any case, that person has to go through that entire process of training, which Air Force, makes him to, undergo, because there is a difference in, you know, uh, civil aviation and military aviation. Military aviation is for a more strenuous kind of routine. You may have to, fly in very tough terrains, hostile terrains. So therefore, the kind of training which you have to undergo in Air Force is much more strenuous, much more rigorous, and much more professional than what people have to undergo outside.
Sure, sir. So, sir, let us take our last question. We have hundreds of questions, so because of the time limitation, so let us take a last question. So, Meena, she is asking, sir, could you please advise us or give us suggestions or advice how to crack NDA examination?
Okay. NDA is an examination which is conducted when when you are in class 12th. Somebody who's studying in class 12th can apply for it. There are two paths. One path is the mathematics. One part is mathematics, and second part is uh, general aptitude test (GAT). So mathematics, carries the weightage of the mathematics paper is 300 marks, and the weightage of all other subjects put together, right? Physics, chemistry, bio, general awareness, history, economics, geography, current affairs, reasoning. So everything put together is about it's 600 marks. So it is like any other competitive examination. So you have questions on in the general aptitude. You have question on English comprehension, general awareness, current affairs, sports, sciences, like geography, history. So that way, it's a composite paper of 600 marks. So these are the two papers that one has to undergo, and based on the cutoff, you qualify for the exam for the
Sure, sir.
SSB.
So, sir, before leaving, so could you please give a message to our viewers or our youngsters?
Uh, to start with, if you want to be successful in life, you need to be, very, very disciplined. Whether you want to join armed forces, whether you want to join any other walk of life, you need to have a very strong inbuilt sense of discipline. There are four types of intelligences, that I can, it'll be easier to, put it that way. First is the PQ, the physical intelligence. So your physical intelligence means you need to be in a good state of health. You need to be disciplined. Second is your IQ, your intellectual level that needs to be cultivated. That needs to be inculcated by regular studies, by regular application of your mind in useful activities. Third is your emotional quotient or your emotional intelligence. That relates to you control of your emotions, emotional balance, empathy, compassion. And the fourth one is the spiritual quotient or spiritual intelligence. That is to have a very high level of thinking, wherein you rise above your individual self, where you think in terms of community, where you think in terms of society, wherein you think about the country and about the humanity as a whole. So you need to, all young people, all of us need to inculcate those kind of four intelligence. The next thing is, whatever be your goal, you need to be very, very focused. The passion has to be there. There's something called fire in the belly, and whatever is your passion, that must drive you through, and it must continue guiding all your actions and all your thoughts, because unless you put your 100%, you may not be able to reach the destination. And thirdly, and most important, is be a good human being. If you have the attributes of a good human being, you will succeed in all walks of life. That is my mantra, my message to all the young viewers, and wish you all the best. And thank you so much, Saurabh and Mithul.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session, and which also, there were some questions about, various careers which you took quite well. And thank you so much, and would like to be in touch with you, and probably share your stories on a personal level also.
Thank you so much, Mithul. It was a pleasure meeting you. And no, I never come across a student from Scindia. Today I've come across a brilliant person. And Saurabh, you're not visible on the screen. As a young man, it's a great initiative. You have brought a large number of young people on one platform, wherein they can be, they can be guided, they can be, they can be told about various aspects, they can discuss. Let it be an absolutely interactive forum, wherein they can come up with their life situations, and wherein the people who are into the kind of different walks of life, they can guide them. And it's a wonderful initiative, and thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you,
Bye,
sir.
Jain.
So to
Jain.
all our viewers, Jain, sir. So thank you very much, sir. So to all our viewers, so tomorrow we have a very interesting session with National Film Award winner Amar Kaushik, who directed films like Istri, Bala, Abha, and along with him we have a very acclaimed actor Abhishek Banerjee, who worked in films like Istri, Rang De Basanti, and worked in the web series like Mirzapur and Patal Lok. So stay tuned with us. So tomorrow at 7 p.m. again we'll meet, and you can ask interesting questions from the film director Amar Kaushik, as well as actor Abhishek Banerjee, along with Mr. Mitul Dikshit sir. So stay tuned and keep following our update on our page on Facebook, Smart Circuits Innovation Private Limited, and keep like, share, and subscribe our page. And we have a announcement for all our viewers. We are going to start the online courses for you in this lockdown period. So if you are interested, you can write to us, or you can get back to our team members. You can call to our team members, or we'll let you know more about the online courses. So till then, stay tuned with us, and you will get all the information on our page on Facebook. Have a nice day, a good night, take care, bye.